Hey awesome people, back again, me and the big fella up here, Dirawong, and myself, Paul. So at the end of the last video, I basically alluded to the fact that this was never about your health, and it's not, okay? Which begs the question, what's it about? Well, so far, COVID plays an important part of what's really going on by way of it provides a distraction. Quite literally, the smoke and mirrors is COVID. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing there. I believe that there is a functionally enhanced version of the flu that is harmful to some people. However, you still have a 99.9% chance of a fantastic recovery, hardly a pandemic. Okay, and if it was really about your health, they wouldn't be telling you to stay at home, don't get fresh air, don't get sunlight, don't do minimal exercise, but go to the bottle shop that's open and things like that. Okay, wear a mask. There's plenty of peer-reviewed papers that suggest that the mask has detrimental effects, okay? And I hope to put a link there for something that goes into what happened at the, what's called the Spanish flu. It wasn't the flu, okay? Mr. Fauci from the CDC in America, he did a 2008 peer-reviewed paper because they still had some human tissue that's been stored in paraffin wax, so it's still as good as the day it was harvested. And they found it was bacterial, and the video that I'll post suggests that this bacterial stuff actually was from a it was from a vaccine, experimental vaccine that happened in Fort Riley, I think it was. And then those soldiers were sent overseas to World War I, and that's when the Spanish flu started to take off, and most of the people that got the flu were vaccinated. Same playbook, folks, same playbook, 100 years later, done by the same people. Mr. Gates's family, who's connected to the Rockefellers. The Rockefellers own health. Okay, they're the monopolisers of the health industry. Remember, 1% own 90% of everything. The Rockefellers basically own health, just like the Rothschilds own the banks, so to speak. They're the major players in those monopolies. Go check it out for yourself. Another thing that Dr. Fauci's peer-reviewed paper that he authored or co-authored, okay? So co-author means you're a big name on that paper, okay? He basically found that the second wave of the Spanish flu was actually enhanced because of excessive mask wearing, which drove the bacterial thing into overdrive. If we were meant to wear masks, we would have evolved one by now after thousands of years, I would have thought. That's what your immune system's for, folks. Even social distancing is actually bad for your immune system. We are meant to socially interact. We're meant to get minor microbes and bugs and stuff like that from each other, which boosts your immune system. So, it's not about your health. Never was about your health. The only thing COVID does is keeps us distracted and fighting and bitching and moaning amongst ourselves, pointing fingers at each other, more interested in dobbing in your neighbour for having two people over or something, or not wearing the mask, whatever, than actually seeing what's going on. And what is actually going on is the Great Reset and the introduction of the fourth industrial age. And you're probably right now, I can almost hear people go, what the fuck? More conspiracy stuff? No. This is not conspiracy stuff. This is the World Economic Forum themselves. Okay, now the World Economic Forum was created and chaired, I think, for quite some time. I don't know whether he still is, I think he is, by a man called Klaus Schwab. And he's written several books on the fourth industrial revolution. So first industrial revolution was steam, and then they could power factories to do much more than just one person at a time thing. The second revolution was mass production, which basically Henry Ford's credited to be a mover and shaker in that. So in the old days, they had like a workstation, and people would move past the car, if that makes sense. So you'd put the chassis down, you'd do that, and then you put the next part. But teams would move past the stationary car. And then it was Mr. Ford or somebody in Ford's company decided, well, why don't we put the car on wheels, so to speak, or the workstation on wheels, and hitch it up to a horse and let the horse walk through the factory from one end to the other, and by the time it gets out the other end, we've got a car. And that was the original production line right there. So the third industrial age was the digital age. Basically the 80s, something like that. The fourth industrial age is quantum age. Now exactly what that means, I don't know, but it is high volume digital stuff. So by that I mean, for example, Elon Musk has been putting up something like 40-something thousand satellites, putting up 90 at a time each time he launches, basically. And by the time, which I think he has finished now, all these 5G satellites, and 5G it allows for massive amounts of data flow, okay, which means, for example, cars, self-driving cars, robots, you name it, okay. It also means factories will be basically autonomous. You reckon? Minimal people there, let's say. May not get rid of all people, but absolutely minimal people. So we're at an age now where, remember that story about the vaccine I just told you about 100 years ago for the Spanish flu, the experimental vaccine that killed a lot of people? They don't have a need for a lot of people anymore. So I'm going to give you an example. The internal combustion engine has hundreds of moving parts, and those hundreds of moving parts need to be made from various factories. Takes a lot of people. Then you've got people driving trucks to deliver them all to one common point, let's say the Ford factory or the Holden factory, doesn't matter which one. But all these parts to make an engine, all these parts to make the drivetrain, all the parts for the suspension, all the parts, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces. But just in the motor alone, the combustion engine, hundreds of pieces, individual pieces, okay? In the electric motor, apparently there's about 6 moving parts. And all of those moving parts are basically what they call plug in and play. So you unbolt it, you pull that part out, you get the new part, you put it in, bolt it up, connect it up to wires, she's done. Plug in and play. And apparently an electric motor only needs the electric motor's version of a tune-up about once every 5 years, as opposed to every 10,000 Ks. So you can see that a lot of factories are no longer needed, and all the people in them, to produce the combustion engine parts. A lot of mechanic shops won't be needed. Okay. Now, with self-autonomous driving cars, there goes your taxi driver, there goes your Uber driver, there goes truck drivers, because the trucks will drive themselves. Truck driver is not needed. And this is even down to the point now, if you think robots, the best we can do is like those little carpet sweepers and lawnmowers and robotic arms in factories. You really need to check out some stuff on YouTube and spend a bit of time having a look around. I think you may have even seen at one stage they had like a robotic head that you could ask questions and it could talk and answer and whatnot. Why didn't they show you the rest of the body? Because you would have shit yourself on how far advanced they actually were. So they just stuck a head on a plate, basically. Now, if we have this 5G all over the place and these robots can interact, okay, you also don't need delivery drivers, so TNT drivers, toll drivers, etc. The car will drive itself there, a robot will get out, go get the package, hand it over to you. That's one industry. The effect of one industry, car industry, basically, being self-autonomous driving and turning it into an electric car. Now you're starting to understand. Now, Klaus Schwab, he's famous for saying with regard to the Great Reset, you will own nothing and you will be happy. If we don't own it, who does? If you don't own your stuff, everything's rented, who then owns it? And then if it's rented, because let's say you don't have your vaccine passport up to date, do you then lose everything? This is all about the Great Reset in the sense of the financial system, which is going to be a quantum system as well. Okay, so when we go to a cashless society, they then can switch off your money and they can switch off anything you access in society if you don't play the game. So it is wealth redistribution from the 1% of greedy mofos that basically have everything. If they were concerned with making this an fair and equitable system, chances are they wouldn't have 1% of the people wouldn't have 90% of the stuff. They don't give a shit about equitable unless it's more equitable to me. Yeah? And when they say it's more sustainable, for who? In what way? Don't forget, the devil is quite literally in the detail. Now again, you don't have to believe me, but why don't you go check out the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum. They're the people that meet in Davos in Switzerland every year to talk about how they can make the world a better place. Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. And you might want to also check out how I think it was October 2019, they had Event 201, which was a full-scale live scenario, just pretend, of a coronavirus pandemic outbreak 2 months before there was a coronavirus pandemic outbreak. Don't you just love coincidences? I do. I just love them. Because otherwise you'd have to call them a conspiracy. Now, in that Event 201, there was a lady that represented Australia called Jane Halton. Do you remember when ScoMo decided he needed a special committee outside of the government to help advise all these specialists and experts? Well, this Miss Jane Halton, she was our representative at Event 201. She's connected to the Gates Foundation and all that sort of thing. She's the one who's advising the government on what we should be doing and how we should be. She is quite literally taking her orders, passing them on down the line. These are not people we voted for in any way, shape or form to represent us, and they are right now screwing us over. And we are all being played for fools. And this game only stops when you stop playing the game. Now, all these people that are putting shit on people that are protesting, they're actually standing up for the rights that you are happy to give away. The people that are protesting are the ones that are actually honouring the diggers that gave their lives for the freedoms you enjoy. The people that are complying are probably the ones that are going to next Anzac Day say, yeah, they bloody died for us and respect and but right now they're not respecting them because they are quite happy to give away all the freedoms that they died for because they're shit scared and it now is all about me and you got to make me safe and can't see the big picture. So whether you believe me or not, that's up to you. However, go look into Event 201, Klaus Schwab, the Great Reset. Even Prince Charles chimed in on that one. We have a rapidly diminishing window of opportunity. Klaus Schwab even wrote a book that said we need to take full advantage of the coronavirus to implement the Great Reset. If you think that this coronavirus is a coincidence and is a genuine pandemic, put your head back in the sand. Anyway, I'll leave you with that thought. I hope you do some exceptional investigation for yourself. Prove me wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong. But I'm really happy if you go and source some more information and don't just believe that black box in the corner of the room. Because it's hypnotising you. It's casting a spell on you. This game stops when you stop playing this game. Ciao for now, everyone. I'll catch you on the other side. There's still one or two more of these videos, so I'll see you soon.